Hi there, Smart Driver, talking to you today about social driving and the way that people drive after they get their license. If you know this and know the definition of social driving, you will be a safer, smarter driver on the roadways. So we're talking about social driving. We're talking about the way that people drive after they get their driver's license. This type of driving is dangerous, and it is why we have so many crashes on our roadways, particularly the United States of America, which has one of the highest crash rates in the world. It has one of the worst traffic safety records, and lots of experts and authorities continue to question this, why the United States of America falls behind everybody else in the world in terms of traffic safety and road deaths and fatalities. So social driving, some of the hallmarks of social driving: driving too fast for conditions of the roadway, speeding, following too close, not coming to a complete stop at stop sign intersections, eating, drinking cell phones, eating, drinking cell phones, eating, drinking cell phones. All these are hallmarks of social driving. Videos to have a look at: 5 defensive driving skills and defensive driving for new drivers who just got their license. And Corey will put up those videos there. In the comments, have a look for those. What is social driving? Social driving is the one thing that unites us as a human race, regardless of politics, creed, religion. Most drivers are going to agree with the statement, I am a good driver. It's not me that needs to change, it's the other person that needs to change. Because I've never had a crash, I've been driving for 20 years, and I've never had a crash, therefore I don't need to change. It's the other person that needs to change. And if you can get past that, and this is what the poll reveals that I'm going to talk about after the presentation, if you can get past that and say to yourself that there are probably skills, abilities, and habits that I can put in place or I can learn, all that is going to make you a safer, smarter driver and reduce your chances of being involved in a crash. And the reason that I come back to this, and the reason that I say this again and again and again, is because traffic crashes are not like they are on the television. They are not like they are portrayed in Hollywood. You do not stop, get out of the vehicle, and walk away with minor discomfort. It is not the way that it happens. When you are involved in a traffic crash, you are broken. Let me repeat that. You are broken. Okay? Even if you escape with no injuries, you are going to be stiff and sore for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. I'm talking about taking a lot of ibuprofen because how much it hurts. Drivers are reactionary and retaliatory. They follow too close because they believe that they are in control. They believe that they have power, and they are reactionary. They are reacting to what is going on in the driving environment instead of creating space around their vehicle, reading traffic patterns, and working to understand the actions of individual road users on the roadway. They stop too close in traffic, and if they get distracted, they rear end the vehicle in front of them. One that really bothers me is people driving cars and they're too close to vulnerable road users, too close to pedestrians, too close to kids on scooters, bicycles, all those types of things, motorcycle riders. And there have been a couple incidents this week where people riding motorcycles have kicked the side of cars, and there has been just an enormous road rage incident that has resulted because of that. And all of this is under the umbrella of social driving with road rage. And we talked about road rage a little bit in detail last week, that when you get emotional when you're driving, you become a 4-year-old and 27 lizards. It's your primal brain that takes over, and you cannot get back into a rational mindset where you're going, wait a minute, what am I doing here? This is completely dangerous and somebody's going to get hurt, probably killed. Get their itis. Everybody wants to move from point A to point B as quickly as humanly possible when they're driving. And this is the reason that the Titanic sank on the 14th of April in 1912, the most famous marine disaster that ever happened. The Titanic was on its maiden voyage. Ship captains were under immense pressure to make the crossing from England to the United States, New York City, faster and faster. And the captain was pushing the envelope, going fast, and crashed into an iceberg, as we've all seen the movie and we know what happened. Mayday, Mayday was another one. If you watch the airplane crash series, pilots pushing it through bad weather and then crashing on the runway. Running red lights, speeding, aggressive driving. Get their itis. This is one of the components, one of the subcategories of social driving. Communication is poor because people are driving nose to tail. Think of it like standing in a line at the grocery store. We don't talk to the person in front because we're not encouraged, because we're not facing them. We're looking at their backside. And when we look at people's backside, it's not a condition of us engaging a conversation with that person. And there has been some expert theories put forward that when we're driving in traffic, we're looking at the taillights of the car in front of us, and we're not inclined to have good communication with the person in front of you. Not to mention that most people do not signal effectively when they're driving. So it becomes even more important that you have advanced skills where you're able to understand what the vehicle is doing owing to its position on the roadway and its speed relative to other things on the roadway, intersections, driveways, pedestrians, those types of things, and to be able to understand what's going on with that person. Vehicles following too close, and I believe it was Evan was asking me this about phantom traffic jams, where people are following too close and the entire interstate comes to a standstill for no reason at all, because traffic on the interstate is following too close. Misperceptions: too close in queues, getting rear-ended, managing space in front. There are defensive driving models out there that say that you need to leave yourself an out. Most of us live in big cities. It is too congested for us to leave ourselves an out, but you can always control the space in front so that you have a 2 to 4 second following distance in a passenger vehicle. If you're driving a larger vehicle, you need to have more space, but for the most of us, 2 to 4 second following distance minimum. If you get into bumper to bumper traffic, you always want to be that one vehicle length back from the car in front of you. And your landmark for that is to be able to see the tires of the vehicle in front, making clear contact with the road. So manage space. This is one of your biggest tools in your defensive driving toolbox, and will deal with the problem of social driving. Communication. Drivers fail to communicate effectively. As I just said, signaling. Few drivers signal effectively. You know, they're changing lanes, moving from one lane to another. They'll give you a courtesy flash as they're moving from that one lane into the other lane. They don't signal effectively, and we need to signal effectively. And you need 3 to 8 flashes of your signal when you're changing directions of your vehicle. And the reason I say 3 to 8 flashes is because, again, it's about time. It's relative. 3 flashes minimum. First flash to get the other driver's attention, or road user. It might be a pedestrian or a kid on an e-scooter, or those types of things. The second flash allows them to identify you, locate you, and the third flash allows them to take some sort of evasive action. Many smart drivers come back to me over the years and say, oh, when I put on my signal and I try to merge into the other lane, drivers will purposely speed up and try and block me. No, they're not blocking you. They're speeding up to get out of your way, because going back to get their itis, they want to get to their destination as quickly as possible. So they're speeding up to get out of your way. And if they're speeding up to get out of your way, they're actually doing you a favor. Minimum 3 flashes on the signal before you begin to change directions of your vehicle. And if you're moving from one lane to another, leave the signal on until you're completely in the other lane. Unpredictable actions are erratic and without warning, reactionary and retaliatory. If you are driving too slow on a 2-lane road and there is another car behind you and they think that you are driving too slow because you're driving the posted speed limit, they're going to retaliate by following too close. Following too close is another way that we communicate with other traffic, telling them that they're a bonehead, that they're driving too slow, and that they need to speed up. It's not always interpreted that way, and the person in front will retaliate by slowing down and causing the person behind even more grief. And then what happens is you get this road rage incident when one person ramps it up, the next person ramps it up a little bit more, and the next person ramps it up. And then the 4-year-old and the 27 lizards take over, and then the whole thing descends into an emotional hot mess, and people get hurt, car crashes happen, there are injuries, and there are deaths. Reactionary and retaliatory, and to be a smarter, safer driver, you want to move from being reactionary and retaliatory to being predictable and proactive on the roadways. When you are in the realm of social driving and you are not a professional driver, you are policing other drivers, telling them that they're number one, honking your horn, flashing your lights, crowding them, following too close. These are all hallmarks and characteristics of both social driving and being an emotional driver. And I will confess that I sometimes fall victim to this. But for the most part, I try to stay calm, read traffic patterns, manage my space well in front. But like everybody else on the roadway, driving is emotional, and every now and again, I succumb to being emotional and policing other drivers on the roadway. Right of way, following too close, failing to give way, mismanagement of speed and space. These are the three top reasons for traffic crashes. Following too close. Rear end crashes are the number one crash in North America and probably in the world. The right of way myth, failing to give way. People think, oh, I have the right of way and I get to go. It doesn't matter. If you're moving through an intersection on a green and somebody runs the red light, you're going to be involved in a traffic crash. And it's one of my favorite questions to ask drivers when we're in driver training is, what does a green light mean? And they'll always say, inevitably, it means go. And it's like, no, a green light means go if the way is clear. It doesn't mean go. It doesn't mean that you automatically have the right of way. It's the same thing with emergency vehicles. Think of it in the same light. Emergency vehicles with lights and sirens proceeding down the roadway do not automatically have the right of way. Lights and sirens are a request for the right of way, not automatically get the right of way. So when they proceed through intersections on a red light, they go very slowly and they make sure that traffic in fact has come to a stop. It's the same thing what you're doing when you're proceeding through on a green, scanning left, center, right, left again, and then proceeding. And of course it's, left, center, right, right? Okay, good luck on your driver's test. And remember, pick the best answer. Not necessarily the right answer. Paul, manage not just space in front, but manage space by keeping intersections or driveways open when cars are entering or exiting. Yes, do not go into an intersection that you are going to block and you cannot proceed before the traffic light goes red. You need to stay back so that other people can move through the intersection. Not so much for driveways and whatnot, but more so for intersections, Paul. You know, it's just a courtesy if people are at a driveway and they need to get out and those types of things. Yes, certainly we can. Retired, what are your top 3 favorite tire brands? I drive a Mazda CX-5. My top favorite brand, retired, is Michelin's. If you can get Michelin's for your CX-5, those are by far my top preferred brand. Other brands, I don't know. You just buy a quality tire. I know that there's Bridgestones, Yokohama's, Firestones. There's all kinds of good tires out there that are not necessarily a brand, but if I have a choice, retired, and I could put them on my vehicle, I'm definitely going to buy Michelin tires. There's one other brand that I can't think of right now. It's generally associated with a racing tire. Retired, just go on the Michelin website and type in your vehicle and see if they have Michelin tires for it. And if I had a choice that I could still get Michelin's for my vehicle, I would definitely put Michelin's on my vehicle. However, and I'm not being sponsored by Michelin, but that's my choice. Pirelli's. I'll come back to traffic crashes and human error in terms of traffic crashes, but retired Pirelli's are the other type of tires, but they tend to be more associated with racing and sports cars. So I don't know whether they make a winter tire or not, but that is another brand that I have a little bit of experience with, not a great deal, but Pirelli's as well. And as Corey has put up there, Firestone, Goodyear's, Bridgestones, these are all good tires, the good tire brands that you can potentially put on your vehicle. But again, as I said, if I have a choice, I'm going to buy Michelin's every time. And the other vehicle, the Audi 2014 with the V6 supercharger in it, it's a sports car, 20-inch low pros. Every time that Tracy put new tires on the Audi, they were Michelin's, and they were incredible sports car tires. Like I said, I've had them on the buggy numerous times until they stopped making the all-season version of the Michelin tires for me. And then I have the winter tires, the Michelin's, and I always regret when I have to go back to the all-season tires for the summer when I take the Michelin winter tires off, because the Michelin winter tires are just amazing. So, elevator fan, emergency vehicles have control over stoplights in the United States. I have seen them changing stoplights. Elevator fan, they don't have control over the lights, but the lights do change. And the reason, my understanding of this, I would need to fact check this for you, but my understanding is that there is a strobe light on the top of the emergency vehicle. There is a sensor at the traffic light that as the emergency vehicle approaches the traffic light, that strobe light is aimed at the sensor at the traffic lights and causes it to change to a green. That's my understanding of how it works. Maybe somebody could look that up and fact check that for me. But you are absolutely correct, elevator fan, that emergency vehicles do have a mechanism that allows them to change the traffic lights so that they can move through safely, and other traffic will come to a stop as they're moving through the intersection. Social driving, this is what we're talking about. This is the problem that you face every day when you're going out on the roadways. And the poll that I put up on the weekend was, does having a traffic crash indicate that you are a bad driver? And most people say that no, it's not. Okay, the significant majority, 80-90% of people, believe that having a traffic crash is not an indicator that you are a bad driver. What I see and what I interpret this as, that people are still seeing traffic crashes as accidents. They're not collisions, they're not crashes, they are accidents. And something happened that I could not control. People viewing traffic crashes as accidents is one of the reasons. It's the psychology of driving about why so many people get into traffic crashes, because they don't see them as something that they can prevent. They see it as something that has happened to them on the roadway. Somebody came out of somewhere and there was no place that I could get out of the way or I could avoid it. And Marion sent me an email during the week that she had avoided a crash at an intersection by somebody moving through and potentially going to T-bone her, and she accelerated out of the way and was able to avoid being involved in a crash. And sometimes that's what you need to do. You just need to get out of the way of the incoming vehicle or pedestrian or other person there. But it comes back to, there is almost always something that we can do to prevent being involved in a crash. Or if we lose control of our vehicle, we did something wrong. When I spun out there a couple of years ago on ice, I looked at it and I went, I was going too fast. I was driving too fast for conditions of the roadway. Not to mention, I'm almost positive I did not have the winter tires on the vehicle at that time. It was late fall and I hadn't switched over to the winter tires yet. So I knew that and I took responsibility for that. In the future, I'm going to make sure that I'm going a little bit slower on that section of roadway when ice conditions are questionable. Accidents. We need to get past calling car crashes, car collisions, accidents, because as soon as we call them accidents, as soon as we have this mindset that a traffic crash is not a crash, it's an accident, and there wasn't anything that I could do about it, that moves us away from responsibility. And driving is such an all-encompassing task in our world now that everybody drives. And when something goes wrong, we're like, oh my God, something went wrong. And as one driving instructor explained years ago in a video about traffic crashes, it's like your favorite tool in the kitchen or your favorite tool in the garage or whatever your kind of thing is that it just all of a sudden it just starts turning on you and starts whacking you in the head and crushing your skull kind of thing. That's what driving a car is, because for most of us, it is the second most personal space for most of us when we're in our lives, next to our homes. Our car is our second most personal space, and we are comfortable there. We feel in control. We feel like that we have power. So when that control is taken away from us in the form of a traffic crash, a collision that not only causes property damage, but causes injury or death, we want to explain that away by saying there wasn't anything I could do about it. It was beyond my control and there wasn't anything I can do about it. Because driving, although it is such a huge aspect of our lives, is also a secondary activity in our lives. Because we're not driving, that's not our sole purpose when we're in the car. We're driving to get groceries. We're driving to pick up the kids from soccer. We're driving to the bottle shop to get a box of beer. It is a secondary activity and it never comes to the forefront of what we're doing on a daily basis. It's not like I'm driving. I'm just driving. It's not the primary focus. The primary focus is going to get groceries. The primary focus is going to pick the kids up from soccer. It's not the driving. The two things, that driving is a secondary activity, something to achieve a goal or achieve an end or to get to where we're going, in addition to the psychology of driving, that having a traffic crash does not make us a bad driver, or that a traffic crash isn't a crash at all. It's an accident, and there wasn't anything I could do about it to prevent being involved in that accident. These are the things that will continue to bolster up the number of traffic crashes, the number of traffic injuries, the number of traffic fatalities that we have on our roadways in North America and in Europe and other places in the world. And we're getting better. However, it's not driver education. It's not enforcement. It is not the way that people are driving that is making roads safer. It is automotive engineering. Cars are safer. It is road engineering. Roads are safer. It is medical science. Advances in medical science and medical technology. These are the things that are reducing traffic injuries. These are the things that are reducing the severity of traffic injuries. These are the things that are keeping people alive and reducing the number of fatalities on our roadways. We're still having the same number of crashes. We haven't reduced that at all. So we need to impress upon people that there is something that they can do about a traffic crash. They can analyze it, look at it, get information, and then begin to put in skills, abilities, and habits. 3 to 4 second following distance, stopping back in traffic 1 vehicle length. ABS, always be scanning, shoulder checking, and MIT, mapping intersections and tracking road users. If you can put those skills in place, this is going to have you begin to make the transition from being reactionary and retaliatory to moving to being proactive and predictable on the roadways and significantly reducing your chances of being involved in a crash. Epic, my friend. In social driving, last minute lane changes are the norm, therefore use the horn when needed. Additionally, if you go with a driving school for a road test, they schedule it for you on a familiar facility. Yes, absolutely. So Epic. 2 pieces there in terms of lane changes that if you are somebody's in danger of colliding with you or you are in danger of a near crash, a near miss, those types of things, use your horn, okay? We react to sound first before we react to light and all those other things. So sound the horn and that will help you out. Driving schools, if you're going for a driving test, you're working with a driving school and you pay the money to use their vehicle. You can use their vehicle to go down to the test center and take your driver's test with their vehicle. And if you are doing that and you are taking driving lessons with a driving school, definitely use their car for the driving test, because you don't want to be, weeks and weeks using the driving school car and then have to get into a different vehicle to go down and do your driving test. It's going to significantly reduce your chances of success on road test day. Paul, that's a good point topic because my big supervisor suffered a freak accident with his hand involved with rolling belt 2 years ago. Yeah, freak accident. Yeah, because there wasn't anything I can do about it. There wasn't any safety procedures, strategies, skills that I could put in place. So therefore, it's a freak accident. And this is how we rationalize pain and suffering in our lives. This is how we deal with it. This is how we cope with it, because there wasn't anything I could do about it. And if there isn't anything that you can do about it, it's easier to deal with, because therefore the onus of responsibility is not on you. It's out there in the amorphous universe that kind of exists beyond our control. This is how we explain pain and suffering in our lives. There wasn't anything I could do about it. Good luck, everybody. Know what social driving is. Manage your space well. 2 to 4 second following distance minimum. Stopping back in traffic 1 vehicle length. ABS. Always be scanning, shoulder checking, MIT, mapping intersections and tracking road users, because more than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. Same thing with interstates and freeways. More than 40% of crashes happen at interchanges. Locate and identify the interchanges and watch the traffic and create space. And if there's, if you can, move over into the left lane, go past the interchange, and then move back into the right lane to keep yourself safe. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.